So as we've been talking about the three waves of feminism in class, it really got me thinking about the way that I was raised, and the fact that I'm at college right now. I was raised to be really independent and to fend for myself and to be able to take care of myself. And it made me wonder, who were the people that came before me that made it so that I could live like this? Who were the people that made it so that more than half of the people that go to college are women? So you look back at the three waves of feminism, and there's how it happened. The first wave of feminism started in around 1848 and went to the mid 1920s. The three most important women in that movement were Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, Martha Wright, Marianne McClintock, and Jane Hunt. These women were called the Seneca Five. Um, they were all white, educated, upper class women. Um, the first wave was that's all it pretty much included. There were some black men, and some very few black women, but it was mostly upper class, educated white women because they had the time and the money to go about doing things like this. A lot of these women were also abolitionists, which means that they were fighting for slavery to end. The Seneca Five, they met at this meeting called in Seneca, New York, where the Declaration of Sentiments was published. And that was basically the Declaration of Independence, but it included women. So this first wave of feminism, they sought to get rid of the control of the male-powered church and separate themselves from that. Some of the things that they accomplished were they won the ability to claim inheritance, to keep their last name after marriage, to be able to get a divorce, to own property. They helped with the 19th Amendment. They got the 19th Amendment. None of the Seneca Five women, unfortunately, got to see this happen. But the 19th Amendment was the amendment that granted women the right to vote. Unfortunately, this really only extended to white women, as black women were still seen as second-class citizens, even below black men, which was below women, which was below men. So it was a victory, but it was only for white women. They also helped with the 13th Amendment, which was the amendment that abolished slavery. The Second Amendment, or the second wave of feminism, started in the mid 1920s and ended in the 70s. This wave was characterized by a lot of action. There was a lot of protesting, a lot of organizations that were formed, so that women could, they had resources. One of the organizations now, that's still around today. Um, there was also a lot more middle class women in the second wave because women had a tradition. They were still in their traditional roles, and they were starting to realize that this wasn't something that they wanted. So they were joining the feminist movement. Um, the second movement really wanted to free women from government control, just better the condition of women in general, and legalize birth control. That was a big goal for them, and they did do that. Some of the goals that they accomplished, besides legalizing birth control, they integrated the police departments so men and women could serve in the same police departments. They made it so that women could serve in combat. They got lesbian custody rights. They got the ability to choose to be a single mother, and they also there was a lot of sexual discovery during this time too. There was the discovery of clitoral orgasms, and of course legalization of birth control. So it was a freedom not just from it was a physical freedom as well, that had to do with the body. And the third wave, it's been called a wave that doesn't exist, and people have asked if feminism is dead, just because this wave is much more cerebral, it's much more intellectual. People have moved past needing to be out in the streets protesting to where they can articulate their thoughts and write articles about it, and really develop feminist theories about this. So this wave started in the mid 90s, and it's still going on now. It's characterized by a lot more diversity. In the past, the waves were mostly white women, and then there were separate sects of black feminists or Latin feminists. But now it's all coming together in the same group. It's all diverse. And this wave is also much more media savvy, which is because of the culture that we're in now. We're much more tech savvy generation of people, much more tech savvy world. So of course the third wave is much more tech savvy as well. And they don't have a specific set of goals, and I mean, we're still working on accomplishing a lot of things. So three very important women from this movement are Lucy Irigaray, Rosie Braidotti, and Judith Butler. In her article, in Lucy Irigaray's article, The Sex That Is Not One, and I'll cite that now, Lucy Irigaray, comma, Lucy, period, quotes, in quotes, The Sex That Is Not One, end quotes, 1977, Introduction to Women and Gender Studies reader, and that's our book. So she talks about how historically women have been viewed as zero as opposed to men being viewed as one being the penis. Women have been viewed as zero because there's no external genitalia and there's nothing there, and that's what, you know, historically women have been seen as. Her theory, Irigaray's theory, is that women are, since we have multiple erogenous zones, we are more than one. We have multiple. So how can we be nothing or less than men when we have multiple? In Judith Butler's article, Bodies That Matter, and I'll cite her now, Butler, comma, Judith, period, in quotes, The Bodies That Matter, end quote, 1993, Introduction to Women and Gender Studies reader. She talks about how we perform our genders. Basically, we perform our gender based on iterabilities. There we go. And that just means that we are performing, we're following a set of ideas that have just been repeated over and over and over until they become social norms. Like how, you know, you wouldn't think twice about a baby dressed in pink being a girl, but that's just a way that we perform our gender. And the way that we materialize that gender on our body, the way that we perform it, it all links back to that idea of repetition. In Rosie Braidotti's article, and I'll cite her, her article is Mothers, Monsters, and Machines. So Braidotti, comma, Rosie, period, in quotes, Mothers, Monsters, and Machines, end quotes, 1996, Introduction to Women and Gender Studies reader. Her idea is that there's nomadic feminism, and that just means that feminism is ever-changing. It escapes definition, and you can't pigeonhole it into one specific thing. And this really ties back to Irigaray's idea of being multiple. Just like nomadic feminism is defined as being something that can't be defined, the idea of nomadic feminism is that there are multiple definitions, just like there are multiple erogenous zones. So women are, once again, more than one. And that's basically the three waves of feminism in a nutshell. Thanks for watching.